What am I going to do today? I'm going to sculpt this head today. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Yeah, I was thinking last night after doing a session of bouldering that like, oh, running every alternate day and bouldering the other alternate days. That means exercising every single day at like at levels which I can do. And like when I say running every day, it's like walking one round on the track and jogging slowly the other round. It's nothing much because I have a lot of injuries to deal with. And I was thinking yesterday like, oh, I feel like I'm managing or adapting or whatever shit. And then today I woke up like, oh my god, I'm so tired. Anyway, it might be because I was doing a stream where I was showing like step by step with explanations on how to, well, let me turn this on how to sculpt a hand. So I sculpted this in yesterday's stream, and then I finalized the placements. I think these might be the final placements that I'm happy with. I'll probably need to bend these fingers, but overall I'm pretty happy with how everything is turning out in terms of like the posture of, yeah, just the feelings of how the feelings generated from looking at these is like what I like. I think when it comes to like thinking about what I want my sculpt to be like and how I feel like I'm happy with that is, or even with my drawings, is like what do I feel when I look at my work. And when I feel like the feeling comes out right, then that's when I'm like this is good. So I think the only thing missing from yesterday is that I didn't really show much how I like bend fingers. Actually, maybe I should do that while I'm still really tired, because I'm really not ready to even though I say that I'm going to sculpt a female head for this stream, I'm like, honestly, I'm like totally not ready. I was thinking about it after sculpting this one to the likeness of my drawing here, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do a live stream of creating this one, because I think I kind of have like a standardized step by step of what I do with head sculpts right now, I think. But then I wonder whether doing like eyes closed is actually easier than eyes open for me. So yeah, let's do some warm-up, and let me show you how I bend fingers before I do the head sculpt. And let me see. Let me see, do I need to bend this one? I might need to bend this one a bit. So let me fix something first though, because I just realized yesterday that this one is not really that, like somehow I created like a 2 bump over here, which I don't like. So I'm going to fix that before I uninstance these, just so that the changes that I do here will be reflected on the other set of hands that are instanced too. And kind of like, as I mentioned in my past 2 streams, like when I'm moving things like this, even though it feels like it's arbitrary, like where I am pressing, I am being mindful, like let's say if I look at the top view of this, I'm being mindful of pulling it from the middle line, even when I'm on this angle here, instead of like, oh, I'm just pulling this out like that. Because if I do this and I look at the front view, you can see that it's lopsided now. So if I pull from the middle line, then I'm keeping the symmetry of the fingers. So even over here, I'm just like being mindful of like which part, which plane or which axis, which vertex I'm pulling up, just so that I don't need to keep rotating my camera angles. You see, even this one, I'm kind of like trying to aim for the center like this, so that I'm not doing like that, like some lopsided pulling. And I think this one kind of comes in with practice, I think. And I have a feeling, I guess like why I bring this up quite often is because I have a feeling that this is kind of one of the things that I practice a lot when I start out in doing 3D things. And like people have been asking me like, how do I get comfortable in 3D space, or how do I move things so easily? And like when I thought about that, in like, I mean, the questions keep popping up, and as I keep thinking about that, I feel like that's one of the important things of like something that I've gotten used to. And then because I've just practiced so much, especially when I started out doing 3D with like the traditional like 3D modeling style of like moving vertices one by one, or like sculpting things from a box and extruding faces, making edge loops and all this stuff. And I do still think about that kind of workflow when it comes to doing this. It's just that the difference is the vertices are not visible. I mean, even if it's visible, it's kind of like shit right now. Because I use dynamic topology to sculpt anyway. But I kind of just think about, like, let's say if this is like a low poly hand with like displacement map, normal maps and all that probably like this is like where the joints are. Usually the joints, there'll be like extra, oh my god, it's so wobbly. There'll be like extra faces just to accommodate for when you do a rig on the fingers and then you want to bend for animation. There's extra skin, so-called, over here, so you do need the extra face to accommodate for that stretching. Although I'm not really sure whether or not it doesn't really matter anymore. Maybe it's just like you just add like more edge loops so that when it bends. Yeah, not really sure. And then yeah, I'm just like thinking about fingernails also has like those kind of things. Yeah, I'm just like subconsciously thinking about these vertices, edge loops and stuff when I'm moving things around. So now that I have adjusted the parts that I didn't like about this, then I'm going to uninstance these because I like how this one looks. Actually, the crease is too far out. Yeah, I think that's better. So when I have instances to make the same adjustments, to make the same adjustments on the other side. And when I want to start making two different poses for both hands, then I'm going to uninstance this and this one, because I want to ban these. So for this one, I probably would just ban the top part. And there is a barrel roll thing with the Apple Pencil Pro. I think if you don't have this one and you don't have like the barrel roll thing, I think if you hold down smooth, I think you hold on smooth and then you turn your stylus, you can get the same effect. And that's been really helpful for turning things for me. So let's hide this now. I'm going to do that. And normally I turn from the ends, because if I turn from this, then you can see that there's this effect. So I'll turn from this. So I'm going to do this. Honestly, I can't really explain like what I'm doing. I'm kind of like just trying to move and translate, rotate and translate, while trying not to distort the fingers too much. And then at certain checkpoints, I'll try to like fix up the volume or the shape of the finger joints and all that stuff. And then when it comes to, and by the way, this is just like how I do things organically. This is not really the best way, but it's just like it's just how I do things. So just offering you a perspective of like how to do things with like, oh, I shouldn't have, how to do things more freestyle, I would say. So the main thing with rotating limbs like this in a freestyle way, like without like masking things out and like, or like even cutting the fingers and then rotating each limb out, is just making sure that the length of the fingers still somewhat stays the same, making sure that the volume of, when you rotate around, the volume still remains the same. So that's kind of what I look out for. But I think I probably rotated too much, because I don't really feel like I like it. So I can go back to adjusting it. And then making sure that at other angles it doesn't look off. And most of the time when I'm working like this, even though it feels like I'm kind of like working in, like I'm just rotating at random angles and stuff, I think in the most part I'm working on, like, I think of things of like still working in the orthographic views. It's just that for this case, the orthographic view of the fingers is like this angle. This is the top view. This is the side view. This is the front view. And I'm always adjusting things on the different angles. like this. Something like that. And if you get like the front side right angles correct, then in general, like, it's not going to look too bad, although I'm not really sure like how it would be for you if you try it. But it does take a lot of practice. And the main thing is also that I don't want the gizmo to be really off. So that's also another thing in the back of my mind what I think about when I'm moving things around. Like, I tend to, even if I know that I can still adjust the gizmos, I tend to like not want to like go too far with like, how to say, like, I'm kind of working with the sculpt in a way that someone would animate a rig. So yeah, so whatever changes I make, it wouldn't have like rotated this finger like crazy like this, and then when I look at the gizmo, it's like, oh my god, it's like it's so different. So just check that everything's fine. Then once I check that the volume is correct, then I start checking on this thing. In this case, I'm only rotating this like just a little bit, so I wouldn't really encounter like very big changes. Maybe I will crease this a little bit more like this, and it's hidden, so it's fine. And even though I sculpt with dynamic topology, at this point I don't really feel like I'm stretching any like face too much. So honestly, I don't really need to do dynamic topology right now. And then the other thing is that when you bend the joints, it's like the sharp points like this, like it's not round, and that is one of the ways that I kind of like, I mean, depending on how much it's bending, I use that as a guideline to create like the ends of the fingers, and then that makes it look, almost all the time it makes it look instantly more like fingers when you do that. And that is one finger bend. This one's going to be yeah, this one's going to be a lot more, but you know, since like it's just thinking, okay, I'm going to hide this first, and then since it's bending a lot more, I'm looking at the side view of the fourth finger. This is the side view. You can see there's a top view, there's a side view, and then I'm going to do this, make sure that the fingers are not that warped. I'm in some way that you can like do like this and then like fix this up, but then it's a lot easier to just like go like maybe 45 degrees and then fix it up, and then 45 degrees, fix it up. And of course I'm kind of like doing things a bit slower because I'm streaming this and talking through it, so it's a bit, I realized from yesterday that it's a bit difficult. Okay, let me see. But I was thinking like it's interesting to show you like how I do this. Like normally if I do this, I'll just be listening to my music and just doing it without talking about it or anything. So you can see like it looks pretty shit right now, but then I try to remember like how it looks like before, and I try to remember where, let me see, I try to remember like where the joints were, and this is one of the joints. And let me fix up the fingernails first. Like sometimes it might be that this is kind of like the long-winded way of doing things, and then if I had just like move things with Gizmo and stuff, it would be a lot faster. But then sometimes I just can't be bothered, you know. So I'm just like, I think the first few times when I tried bending fingers, like it didn't it didn't progress like this smoothly. So I'm just working on like the side view, like side view here, and then the front view, and you can see like it's still very lopsided. So I'll just take things one at a time. Like don't panic about it, because it's the same geometry. It's just at a different rotation. So one of the views is fixed. Then I'm going to go in here. When you look at the crease of a finger and you bend it like this, the crease will go around the fingers like that. But I can see like right now the crease is like this, and then I want to rotate it like that. So the next thing that I'll do is to put the crease properly, and then use the crease brush to make it a little bit more obvious again, like that, and then create the sharp angle with the drag tool again. And that's like a whole standardized process to do this, and then create like this bump. It doesn't really have to be exact, but then you can see like from the bottom view that it's becoming lopsided. So I'm going to like just use a semi, like kind of like a large what's that, brush size to move it, and then you can see the angle of this. It should be more like this. It should be more like that. Not like this. Right now it's like this. So right now it's like this, and I want it to be more like this. So let's do that. So I have to keep in mind like the distances between the finger joints, but again, don't have to be exact. And I'm going to smooth this out, and this one looks really weird, so just take things step by step, fix one thing at a time. Fix one angle at a time. Like that is a great way to not spiral out of control. Look at different angles see like what is wrong. So this one needs to be like this, and then I look at the side view, and then I barrel roll that. And in some way showing this, hopefully it will demonstrate to you that like no matter how much you mess up, if you just take things, just like take things step by step, it can be like starting to be better, because I fixed like the front view, the side view, and top view, smooth things out a little bit more to average out the distances of the vertices, and then look at this one again. And right now I'm just like fixing the overall shape. I'm still not really thinking about the expression, like the feeling of the finger yet, because it's still quite, it was still quite messy and very like lopsided and all that stuff. And that is kind of like the finger bent. Maybe I'll make this shorter, and then I can, honestly I'm not really sure whether or not I want the finger to bend like this. I just thought that maybe the finger bending like that might look nice, but then I will have to see right now whether or not it does look nice. And I think it looks nice, I think. But I do need to bend this, position this up a little bit more, and the excess over here is showing up here, so let me shorten that again. And maybe from the side view of this, I'm going to bring these down and then smooth this. Then make sure that I'm looking at different angles and making sure that I'm not making it like too weird on the other angles. And I think that's not bad. So I'm not really sure whether or not I am now that I'm actually looking at a finger that's bent, whether or not I really do like this. But like maybe if anything, I feel like maybe it's bending too much, although I'm not really sure. Like, I guess it is pretty accurate if I do this. So I'm going to just leave it as it is because it's looking not bad. And remember the pinky finger that I hit? I'm going to just replace it with this one. So I'll instance this finger, move it down, and with the pinky it's just like you can just kind of like scale it down, and then it looks like it looks like the pinky finger. I'm just using this as a size reference because I like the size of that. And then let me hide this first. but maybe I might need to pinkies. Usually I would scale down and also scale by shortening it, but you can see when I try to shorten it like this, it will only squeeze the part that is perpendicular to the direction of it, like this. So normally when that happens, I don't use the transform to scale it down. I just it's instance. I'll uninstance this, and then I will just to see like how it looks like. And actually maybe I don't really like it, so maybe I'll bring back this one. And yeah, I'm not really sure, like so sometimes I'll bend the fingers like that. And let me just show you again the way that you can do with the mask tool, which is to mask this out. It really depends on my mood, like how I want to do it. But yeah, actually most of the time this is better. I'm not really sure why I like to do the other way. And then I'll mask this out again with the cell mask tool. Everything is on my macropad, so I'm just pressing on my macropad, the cell mask tool, and then rotate like this. Actually that was so much easier. I'm so stubborn. And then if I want to invert this and rotate this some more, I can do that, and then I can clear the mask. And this time around, of course, it's also like a lot faster to just move things around without like explaining what I'm doing all the time. But it's always fun to share like different workflows and all that stuff, because different workflows like works well with different situations. Like it's always nice to have everything in your belt, just so that it's flexible to use wherever that you need to, depending on what situation arises. So I think that looks better. Like that feels like a nice, like doing something like this, it feels like a nice feeling. And obviously it's going up there. I'm not really sure about the angle of this one, but now that this one is bent, this area is exposed on this, so you can see like they are all quite rounded. But I want to create this right angle feeling on the knuckle. So from this one, and I'm not adjusting that much, so I'm not worried about this being an instance and affecting this one too. If anything, a lot of these changes, like when a flaw is exposed because of a different pose, I think a lot of the times it's actually useful to fix like the anatomy and then organically, in an organic fashion. And yeah, like slowly the sculpt becomes better in time. So I'll do that, and then from the top view, I want this to make sure that it's not really that off from the and from a different, I'll undo that. Just look at different angles and like, oh, is that nice? Like because there's no point in adjusting them and then you look at the pose overall and like it's not really that nice, and then it's like I'm almost gonna say like it's not that great to be so correct in anatomy, and then like it's not nice, but then I feel like that's completely wrong to think about. Most likely it's not good because I know shit about anatomy. I'm trying to reduce this like roundness at the wrist, and I think there's more volume in this. Like this one's too thin. So adding some volume. Sometimes you can use the inflate brush. Sometimes I like to just use the drag tool and like move things apart. So that's like a, oh, that's looking really nice. It's looking so pretty. So now that I'm warmed up, I think I can start on, oh my god, I'm dreading this. Let me show you how I sculpt hits nowadays. Oh my god. Okay, let me think. Typically I don't really nowadays I don't really use the world axis to sculpt things, because I'm always creating new objects based on like relative translation and rotation, relative positions to my organic sculpt. So like with this hit, it started out with a spear from this girl's position, but then now that I've rotated this girl's head, and like from the front view there's like a little bit of a y-axis tilt, so because of that it might actually be better to just make it based off, and I have like a light source pointing this way. That's the main light source. Oh, actually before that I forgot. I also forgot that it's a little bit too bright for the camera, so let me bring this down a bit. Okay, I think that's better. Oh, I forgot to move this. Let me make it a bit brighter because it's a bit dark on my screen. Why is it always so overexposed? Actually, let me just like fix this on a bit. So I'll instance, oh, stop it. I will uninstance this one and then hyper extend Okay, maybe it's not really as good as I thought. Okay, I'll just leave it. At least I tried. So yeah, I need to think about let me just check the grid. So I think probably let me just use this. Okay, just do the same thing. Let me I will use this gizmo position to add a new quad sphere, and this will be the sphere that I'll use for this one. So let's just like let's just make it as right angle as I can. Yeah. Although it honestly doesn't really matter. Now this is a nice angle to work with, I guess. And then this one is so distracting. I need to. I'm not really sure like what I want to do with this because my drawing kind of like just end up being like that, so I don't really know what I want to do with this. But let's just, they're all instances of each other, that's why like they are a bit messy right now. Hello White Flare, thanks for coming back. Yeah, I know, right? I'm so happy that this one is like, it looks like my drawing. Yeah, I'm just really happy that my 2D and 3D stuff is like coming together. But I feel like I might probably say it too soon because like I'm a bit afraid of what she's gonna turn out. If this turns out horrible, I'm gonna delete the stream. Actually, not really. It's always like a good experience to show like mistakes and all that stuff. So first things first, because I'm working in like this. Let me change my music. What was I doing? Because I'm working in like, hello my ADHD addictions. Oh, from London. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you for tuning in. I hope London's been very nice. Singapore's weather has been really great recently, like because I been running like every alternate day at the like this track and field. It's been quite windy and cooling in Singapore, which is not normal. Or maybe it's like a normal for like January to hopefully February, hopefully to March, April, May, June, July. But I think it's gonna get hotter soon. But wait, what was I doing? So to start on this sculpt, I'll need to use local symmetry, not the world symmetry. You can see the world symmetry is like, this is the front view and this is the grid. The grid is like this. That's why the world axis is here. Let's ditch that. So I want to use the local symmetry, and from here I'll be using the drag tool, sometimes the brush tool, sometimes crease tool. So let's validate this. So first thing that I like to do for oh my god, I feel like I'm really messing up, is to create like this. And of course, because I'm working in like a arbitrary angle in this world space. I am quite conscious of like where my side is and the top view. And let's remove the grid because it's going to distract me. So going to the side. Actually, this one's very distracting. Let me just which one is this? Let me uninstance this and start doing something about this. It's messy behind, but at least from this angle it looks a lot better. Like this might be a good idea to go forward with, like this look. It's not too bad actually. Thank you. Thanks for wishing me luck. All the best with your whatever work that you're doing too. So this one I like to create like this chin shape here. This one, and I always mess this up, so and then create this like this kind of shape. Actually, before I forget, I'll start using dynamic topology at this point, and I will bring this up and set the detail to like 40% or even lower. Then that way it's not too many vertices at the beginning. Like you see, it's more manageable like this instead of it being like just now was a lot more than now. So I can go even lower like this. Then I'll flatten the side of the head like this. Like this. And then put the kind of like the jawline, and then from the 3/4 angle I want to I'm thinking about, this is where the jaw is, this is where the ear is, then there's like a indentation inside this area here. And then make the jawline a little bit more obvious. And then from the top view, I make sure that it's not so like cuboid, but then I keep messing this up. It's not something that I'm confident with. And then just adjust, and then something like this. One thing that I'm really bad at is like when I start putting in the features, let me just like when I start putting the features, like my head, the size of the skull is always so big that I always have to like make it smaller to fix this. I'm trying to like I'm trying to fix that habit of mine, but I'm not really sure that I can do it. So with the, sometimes I can use like a brush to kind of like scoop out the head. Oh my god, it's really like starting to be too small. And then I'll bring out the nose like this, and bring out the forehead because I have a very large forehead, and all my characters need to have large foreheads. I got my large forehead from my grandma, and she's so cute. So I want to embrace my large forehead. And then the part on the mouth has like this, there's like this, wait, is it really too big? Okay, I need to fix this. I need to fix this stupid habit of mine by making my features bigger. Well, I'll just make this smaller, it's fine. It's an evolving process, and I'll get better in time. Always trust that you will improve over time. And then there's like this like thing that comes out like this for the mouth, and then the chin. So something like this. It looks like shit right now, but it's not too bad. Then I'll bring up the detail. And I can kind of just bring out the neck now, which is, like I said earlier, of even if I look like I'm just pulling off like anywhere, I'm being very conscious of pulling out from that's not helpful, the center line of this. So I'm not like pulling out like this, because if I do that, I can see it's split both ways because I'm pulling out like that. So instead of that, I'm aiming at the center and pulling out the neck like this. I think one of the things that I learned from my 3D teachers in the past would be, wait, is this my teachers or like online? It's kind of like those portfolio reviews of 3D artists reviewing people's 3D portfolios, and then one of the common things that they feel, that people generally like feel like frustrated about, is like how when they show a head sculpt, the head sculpt is always like this. Like imagine this sculpt, but then with just like the head without the neck and all that stuff. And like they'll much prefer it if you just block out like the torso for a bust kind of character design sculpt. And I feel like ever since I learned about that, although like I feel like I don't really just like stop with a head sculpt normally anyway, because I feel like, oh, it's so weird to have like a head floating around without a neck. But ever since then, I'm like, I can't always make it a point to just bring out the torso a bit, because it's so simple. Like you just do that, and the neck and the neck and the torso is done. Let me see. Should I just... Okay. So with the nose, I guess normally I start out with the nose for my characters. So I will do that. Nose is one of the tricky parts for sculpting because it's such a delicate area with a lot of details. So for me, one of the advice would be to like go smaller than, actually not really, some people do it too small. So this might turn out to be a disaster, not really sure. But I'll do it like this, just to flash it out. And then now I will go to the mouth, because I've already bring this out a bit like this. Let me just draw it out to, this is the part that I'm talking about, like this protrusion on like this semicircle on the front plane of the head. I find that one of the helpful things to make sure that my mouth doesn't look weird. And then I'm just using the crease brush to shape out the shape of the mouth. And then bring out the chin. And then bring out like this. It looks so scary now, right? Bring out the, like, how to say, what's this? Please don't ask me about anatomy. But there's this like this part of the mouth, and then I don't know what this is, but then it kind of like flows like this. I just realized, like, now that I'm talking about it, I know nothing. I can't really. I can't really talk about like the process of this, I guess. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Something that I feel like I've tried to work on and improve would be the shape of the side view. I guess, like, even if I can't explain what my step-by-step process is, I can at least try to tell you like what I'm trying to look for when I'm sculpting a head, which is on the side of the 3/4 view of the mouth. It kind of looks like this. So this one comes out a bit more like this, and then goes in, and then it comes out a little bit more again. And for the bottom part, it's like this curve like this, and then you have to make this something like this. So that's kind of the shapes that I try to look out for the mouth, and it will just keep evolving, because as like the whole face comes out, and then I try to do like the, and I feel like the nose is one of the hardest part for me. But I kind of know that based on, I guess, my own anatomy when it comes to the nose. This is the nostrils. Then the two tubes that goes down to the bottom of the lip, I mean the top edge of the lip, it kind of connects to the opening of the nostrils. So that is also another thing that I kind of like look out for when I am doing the nose. And I'm just using the drag tool to move things around, to shape it, and then adjust it as I go. So sometimes I just use the brush tool to kind of like dig out the nostrils. And then I think for the nostrils, like something that I learned in the past few days of sculpting the head again is that the nose is like, the nose is like this, and the nostrils is like kind of this shape. So I used to do it more like this, where it looks like that, and then over time I realized that it's not really that correct to do that. So now I try to make sure that, yeah, I just try to make sure that there's like this part here where it creates this circular shape over here. And then from the side view, I guess it also depends on people's noses, but I try to, I mean, I'm an Asian, so I just try to do more Asian proportions, which is like flatter around the noses, because Asian proportions are cute. And then like this. The same thing with the fingers, like I like to work things step by step at like different camera angles, because the nice thing about doing 3D compared to like drawing, it's like different pros and cons like between drawing and sculpting. But when it comes to sculpting, it's like sometimes when you fix like the front view, for example, and then you fix the side view, and like the front view looks weird, and then when you go to the side view and it looks weird, and then you fix the side view, and when you go back to the front view again, like things will kind of start correcting themselves. Let me just, and because in this case her eyes are open, so I'm going to use the, let me fix the rotation. So I'm going to use the position of the gizmo and add a mirror group, and from there I'll add another quad sphere and scale it down, move it forward, scale down to the size of the head, I guess. Actually, let me see. If the head is this size, around this size, Then I'll flatten it a bit too, because it's like more semi-anime style. I always can't get the size of the eyes right. And maybe rotate outwards a little bit. I feel like I'm doing better now, where like the face is not intensely small compared to the size of the whole sculpt. I have improved by a tiny bit. And then I can start like doing the side angle. So when it comes to the like the actually, I find like the head is too tall right now. Let me just bring this out first so that I can create this. And when I'm making big adjustments with the drag brush, normally I turn off the dynamic topology, because usually when I'm making big adjustments, I'm zoomed out. And when I'm zoomed out, you can see if I move this, the detail is based on how close I am to the object on the screen. So you can see like once I zoom back in, it's really low poly. So when I know that I'm really like making bigger adjustments from a more zoomed out view, then that's when I switch off dynamic topology for the drag tool. And I just like make more bigger adjustments. And then when it comes to the top view, I just try to create like one of the problems that I used to encounter, I still do, is when I sculpt the smaller details of the face, I tend to create like this shape. I'm exaggerating right now. So you can see that it kind of becomes like this, because I'm always working on like the front view and then the side view, but then I can't neglect like the 3/4 view. So I want it to be more like a nice curve. So I'm correcting that. Starting to correct the 3/4 view of the face, which is like why you know, like this. Eyebrows are here, it goes in like this, it goes out like that, or more like it kind of goes out like this, and then there's the curve of the mouth. There's the curve of the mouth, and then there is the chin. So the overall shape of this is like this from the 3/4 angle, something like that. Let me use a different color, something like this. Because of the cheekbone is here, the mouth protrusion is here. Is this a mouth? And then the chin and wherever this is. And with Asian faces, it's tends to be flatter. Everything's flatter. The one of the mistakes that I used to, you may notice that I'm always talking about like mistakes that I make, and I feel like I just learn a lot better that way, because it's like it's just so much easier to know like what to do the right way when you know what the wrong way is. So I used to do this more like instead of it being like this, where the cheekbone is here, I tend to put the cheekbone like in the middle of the face. So you want it to be more like higher up, where the cheekbones are not like this. It's more like this. And then I create the nice angles of like whoop, whoop, like that. Then go back to the front view and correct any weird shit that appears. When it comes to the front of the head, there's like oh, actually it's quite in like too much. So I want the eyeball to be kind of like here, I guess. Another landmark that I think about when I sculpt the side view is when you learn how to draw faces, there's like this plane where you draw the nose from, like this. So from the side view you can kind of see this plane like that. And when I sculpt in lit P-Bar mode, I try to look out for this shadow cast on the face, like this. Then the middle of the eye typically is like a little bit lower than where the nose bridge goes in, the deepest point of the nose bridge. And the more Angmo or like Western that you do your face, the more like distinct like the indentation and the angle of the nose bridge and all this stuff. For Asian faces, it can be like pretty flat like that. Then when it comes to the back of the head, which is this side, you can think about it in a very simple way of, you have this thing, and then you have the jawline like this. The ear is over here, and this part is flat. So and then there's this part that is recessed. So I just think about things like that. I don't know the exact anatomy and all that stuff, but I just try to create this nice curve, this indentation here where it forms the jaw. Okay, let me go to the other side because it's too dark. Where it forms this jawline here, and then this part flattens out a bit, the neck comes out like this, like that, and then this part is where the jaw is, where the ear is. And then I'm going to put in some more volume to the face. And adjust the overall proportion. So it looks more decent now. Like, it still looks scary, but it looks less scary. Then at this point I start looking at the eyelids, the eyebrows. So I'll use I can use like the brush tool to like form like this upper eyelid thing. And I like to, I love my monolids, and I always find it sad when people hate their monolids and they want to do double eye. I mean, it's not wrong or anything, but then I wish that there are like some people around me who have monolids, and like they always talk about how they don't like their monolids, which is quite sad. Monolids are pretty too, and that's why I always like to do monolids for my characters. I think that's, I feel like it's so pretty. So I create like this upper eyelid thing, and then this is the part where it gets like really difficult. And when it becomes, oh my god, you see the head is like too big now. When it becomes this, when we start going into the smaller details of the face, let me just correct this. I will try to use like a smaller brush, and I'm not going up in detail yet, like, because I'm not destroying any details on this right now. And honestly, I'm not really sure about the placement of the eyeball yet. Then I will bump out this. This is also one of the areas which I struggle a lot with last time. But now I think about it which is when I sculpt the head. I always find that I need to fix this angles too much. I always find that my face always have like this flat thing over here where it's supposed to, like, the angle of the nose is like this. It's supposed to go out like that because that's where the cheek volume is. So something that I like to do at the beginning when it's still like the eyelids is not like finalized and I don't need to interfere with like the details of the nose and all this stuff, I try to create this front volume here, and then see, the head is always so big. Oh my god. I didn't learn anything. And when it comes to the front of the face, there's also this part where this is like the small line, and this is the part where the cheek is, and then this is like the other part where I needed to protrude out. So this is like one of the hardest part for me, which kind of makes sense because even with painting and drawing, one of my art teachers used to say that you can get a very, was it? I'm starting to forget. It's been so long. But you can really bring up the kind of like the realism of the face, or like polish the painting a lot more when you work on painting this part and this part. So this area here. So in some sense, like compared to a lot of the other areas of the face, you would typically spend more time on this area here just because there's so much details, like so many plane changes and all that stuff. So I just try to keep that in mind, that I should just spend like more delicate time working on forming like this volume of the lip area. Then from the side view, I try to form the side volume and then fix the shape of the mouth from the front. So this side of the lip, which I also just figured out recently, you want to do like a outward like this, and then there is a kind of like this of the upper lip, and then the bottom lip kinds of like curves outward smoothly and create that indentation, like kind of like the overhang. And then the chin is like this. I don't really know how to explain that better. Let's just make this less scary right now. By forming the lower eyelid with the brush tool. And then from the side view, I'm going to bring this part out a little bit. I think at this point I can't really teach you like what is a good standard workflow for eyes because I'm still struggling with it myself. But once I form this upper and lower lid thing and make sure that they're not like incredibly like different in size, I try to put the upper lid like a little bit more out like this. Oh wait, I do have some notes on the lid, which is when you think about the eyelids and the eyeball is here, depending on how much you close the eyes, the eyelid will follow around the curvature of the eyeball. So in the case of this one, where her eyes are closed, you can see that I'm creating the illusion of like the eyeball, the eyelid wrapping around the eyeball like this. So the lower lid is not really like, if you think about it, you don't close your eyes like, do you know what animal closes your eyes like both ways? You don't close your eyes like that. It just goes down like this. So the eyeball is kind of like sitting underneath. How do I explain this? So the eyeball is kind of sitting at the bottom of the bottom of, like, closer to the bottom edge of the eyeball than the middle of the eyeball. And then depending on your pose of your character, the eyelid will be at different positions depending on how you want, like how much you want the eyes to be closed. And at the different positions, it will be like, let's say if you do like half closed, it'll be like this, and then fully closed it'll be like this. So I like to think about eyes that way. In this case, it's still like a neutral pose, although I'm going to make it, I'm not really sure whether this is like half closed. Is this half closed? Yeah, I'm not sure. So look at the top view again. It looks like shit. Let's like make it less shit and make the side of the head more flatter, and then I keep doing this thing where like the head keeps feeling too big, so let's shrink that. At this point, I'm kind of like getting closer and closer to my end goal. And you can see that instead of making big changes, I'm starting to make like very minor changes to the shapes. Because of the nature of working in 3D space, where like, especially if you're just starting out, it can't be helped that you're going to be inaccurate with how you move things. And especially with like this perfectly oval, nice round shapes, there's going to be, like, even right now when I do my sculpt, like there'll be times when I'm exaggerating right now, but because of how I move things, like it will become like that. And then I'm just like slowly flattening out like that with very minor movements. And like these little bit of adjustments really help in just helping you visualize things, see if you're on the right path. Because like the less weird things are showing up on the sculpt, the more you can focus on like the things that are actually looking really wrong. So I'm making this shape here. Hopefully in a few years' time, when I do my head sculpts, it will be a lot better than this. Because I feel like there's so many things right now that is really not optimal, but then like, I just can't see it because I'm not at like the skill level to spot like what I'm doing wrong. Until like different areas flash out, and I'm like, oh, it's wrong because of blah blah blah. So at this point, I like to do like the crease in the middle of the eye. Let me just make this bigger. Like this. It's also pretty important to make sure that the recessed area, this area, it's not too weird looking. And then I'm going to use the crease tool to sharpen this and also sharpen and smooth things out. From the top view, usually I try to like make the eyelid look nice and pretty like this, because it wraps around the eyeball. And normally when you see people draw like the top view of the eye, this is how you normally draw it, and then the nose, and then the mouth, and then the eyebrows. So many times my eyelids will be like this, like straight or not curving very nicely. So I try to keep that in mind. A lot of things to keep in mind. And the eyeball, I like to use the symmetry of the XY axis. Remember to validate the shape first so they can sculpt on it. And then I just do like a placeholder for now. And then I can start shifting proportions around. Flash out the eyebrow area, rotate around, and make sure that there are no weird angles. You know what, I think I'm starting to understand why why the skull is always so big, because whenever I correct things, I kind of like pinch everything closer and closer to one another. And smooth things out. Create the crease of the inner eye area. Make like the I'm going to make this shape now. This shape. So we make the the eye shape. It goes like this, and then there's like this part where you see this thing and then it curves around like this. It goes down like that, and then this is the eyelash. Then from this angle, I try to make the you can see like the scalp progressively move forward. Everything looks so scary right now. It can't be helped. Like when I have to talk through the process, like it's actually quite difficult to concentrate on doing things properly. But it's a nice experience to talk about all these things. So at this point, maybe I'm starting to feel like I'm struggling with the resolution of the mesh. So, gee, why is this looking so off? I'm just like shifting things around and then creating I probably want to move this. I want to move this lower down. And then shape the nose a little bit better from here. And then make this go, this inner side goes in quite a bit, like this. Then I'm fixing the shape of the nostrils. Normally I try to think about it as like just like this. And the same thing from this side, from the front view, on the bottom. I try to shape it as well as I can. And make sure that this area here of this area is not like too flat. Then make sure that the lower lid is not too protruding too. And from the 3/4 view, I'm seeing that the shape of the face is not nice. So I'm trying to restore this the nice curves of the face. The mouth is too big. Fixing the overall profile of this whole face, I mean the whole head. And I think maybe it's too like close together. So let me move the eyeballs more apart. Something like this. And at this point, I think I can start going a little bit higher on the resolution and start adding more vertices. And then shape out the mouth a bit better. Something that I like to do nowadays is to mask out like the upper lip like this, and also I guess also the lower lip, and then let me just mask this out. And then use this to create like the mouth crease like this. And then when I smooth it out, oops. Then it creates like a nice gap. I think at this point I'm just going to sculpt things as best as I can. I think some other curves to think about would be this curve of the lip. I think maybe I'll just use like a different matte cap. Another thing to think about for the nose would be that there's this shape to think about. So there's this flat area here. And the nostrils has this I try to make it like this shape from the bottom view, and then from the side view I try to make it this shape, and then from the front view I try to make it like this. I think going into this, I don't really have the confidence of like matching up to my drawing. But I think if it doesn't work out, I can still like adjust it off stream. And I think eventually it might look fine. So I tried to make the eyebrow area as smooth as I can, because I think this is because of like the constant adjustment of the eyelid. It's very easy to make the eyebrow area really like bumpy. So that's something that I try to be careful of. And yeah, I think the eye is like too high up. Checking the 3/4 angle. So front view, 3/4 view, and the side view. I like to do the waterline. Honestly, I'm just like, my brain's kind of going overdrive right now, so just going to do whatever. So I like to do the waterline. Sculpting is tough. Sculpting and talking about it is tough. Much respect to people who can like teach these things. So remember, the thing about the middle of the eyeball is over here, below the deepest part of the nose bridge. There's also this part of the eye which I kind of like don't understand that much yet, but I kind of understand it in the way of there is this part here, there's like that. This part is quite flat. I'm just gonna give you the notes that I'm keeping in my mind. This part is flat, and then this part kind of like curves around and then becomes flatter. So I'm creating the under eye thing, and then use the inflate brush to inflate this part. And then inflate the last one, the outer edge, because it flattens out over there. Then make sure that there are no like straight lines on the face. And at this point would be kind of like around the time when I add eyebrows. Or maybe, let me think about. So I try to make a curve on the top side, because I'm always guilty of like making the head too cuboid from the top angle. That is usually neglected quite a bit, like this. And then at this point I'll add like eyelashes. Oh wait, but before that I'll think of like what is the next easy thing to target, and that'll be the neck. So normally for the neck you don't really have to pull it out like this. It'll be easier for you to use like a cylinder, and then you put the cylinder here. Put the cylinder here, and then you merge it with the head eventually when you like the position of the neck. But in this case, because I pull it out like that, I need to create the cylinder shape myself, which I'm really quite used to because I've done it a few times. So in this case, I will use dynamic topology at a lower percentage because there's not a lot of details here, and I can use the oops, wrong one. I can use the cell mask tool to block out the other areas that I don't want affected. Something like this. Normally I don't do this, but then I figured that is after like I just realized that it's kind of like a nice thing to do. So I'll just protect the face detail so that I can bring this down. Oh, let me get this one. Because I don't want that many vertices on the neck. You know what? Maybe I should just get this too. Let me get these. Yeah, okay. So how I get the cylinder shape is to do the same thing on like side view, front view, and then I start looking at like the bottom 3/4 view. The same thing with this one. So what I essentially did, and let's bring this up. Let's bring up the traps. It's just so much easier to make like these nice smooth shapes with a lower detail percentage. And that's why I'm also masking this out, because I don't want to lose all the details on these. So what I like to do to create the curve shape, let me get a different angle, like here. One of the things that I think will be problematic of making a neck directly from the head sculpt is that it will be difficult to, I think it will be difficult for new people to make the correct cylinder shape. So I like to work on, typically my neck gets into this this shape, a rectangle shape. So what I like to do is to like just make the side view, the front view correct first, and then the side view, and then the side view the correct width, like this, which will, and you will end up with like this very cuboidal shape. And then like a lot of 3D things, what I'll do is look at the bottom view, like this is the jawline, and then I'll notice this cuboid shape, and then I'll push it in. So I'll drag this one into this, and eventually when you drag all the two corners at the front, the two corners at the back, you'll form the cylinder shape. And that's what I did for this. So like this, I'm like creating that cylinder, looking around, cylinder, and that is, it's very simple to create that cylinder shape, even on a head like this, like even when it's attached to the head. So just check that it's not too bad. Let's clear the mask, and I will just smooth out this area here. And around this time I like to add eyelashes because the face looks very weird without eyelashes. Let me show you this face alone. It looks quite strange without eyelashes. And wait, why is this so straight? So let me show you how I do eyelashes in the way that I find fun. Okay, let me think. So I like to get the masking tool, and I will draw the shape of the eyelid like this. Kind of like try to make it as even as I can, and I'll use this to extract a shape like this. Make sure to clear the mask because I keep forgetting to clear mask. Then using dynamic topology, I'll create a somewhat even shape, and then move it into place. Something like this. Something like that. I try to keep the main part a bit hidden. You can see it's quite hidden inside. But I wanted to also match up the shape of the eyelid and not just some like random shape inside. And at this point I will use the drag brush and just have fun, like to the inner side. I don't really like it with so I'll draw nice eyelashes inspired by my drawing. Sometimes I can create like 2 pieces like that. And because it's like really thin, it's quite delicate right now. So I'll switch off the dynamic topology while I'm moving this around to shape it properly. So going to like the side view, I'm shaping the curve of the it looks like shit right now. It's not easy to do it while talking. I think one thing probably you can do is to just make bigger adjustments. Oh yeah, okay, that's better. Can make it a lot thinner by smoothing things out and making things disappear. Honestly, I don't have like a good process of the eyelashes. It's kind of like the if it sucks then just redo it kind of thing. Oops. So I'm just like smoothing things out. And then because I already have a base, the second time that I drag things out, usually it's like, oh, it's not that hard because I have like a base to come out to work from. But this is kind of like the second time that I'm doing this style of like irregular eyelashes, like more like this. So it's just going to be a bit difficult when I don't have enough practice on it. So I try to make the eyelashes like go forward and a little bit outward like this. Make sure that they kind of like curve outwards too. Although like in my drawing it's not really curving outwards, so maybe I'll just make them go down a bit. And then Sometimes zooming in and adjusting little bits can be easier. And at this point, I would want to add the hair. And because the style of the hair is quite similar to this one, let me show you how I do this kind of hair. The same thing using the gizmo tool. I'm going to add a quad spear like this. Let's shrink this down and bring it to the front. Let's validate this, use dynamic topology, and with dynamic topology, and with a very low percentage, I'm going to start. Actually, let me use the local symmetry for this too. I'm going to start shaping out the this bump of the hair. So for her hair, it's going to be less round than hers. And I'm not really that happy with the face yet, but it's like sometimes I can't really see like what's wrong with it until the other stuff flashes out. So it's always like a back and forth kind of process. So like this, and then let's make it go up a bit like that. And then I'm going to instance this. Oh wait, and before I instance this, like let's not make the same mistake. I'm going to rename this as hair. Oh my god, I hate. So hair. So once I rename this, when I instance this, all the instances will have the same name. So that's what I want. Don't make the same mistake of like you see all this. This is all like quad spears, quad spears, quad spear. I keep forgetting to not to rename myself. So instance this one like this, and it looks very weird right now. So let's create some 100%. Let's create some creases. So with the crease brush, I like to go in and out like that, just randomly in, out, and then smooth that out, and then in, out, in, out, in, out, using the sub toggle, go in and out, and then they create like these natural creases. I think I probably don't need the, you know what, let's not use the, let's switch off the symmetry, and then in, out, in, out. I'm just doing this randomly. So very nice, like fun, quick way to make hair strands. Then make sure that they're not like straight lines unless that's the design that you want. Something like this. Add some flow to the hair by like making it flow like this. I have like natural wavy hair, and I feel like that's kind of like what I kind of like to default to when I do my character's hair. But let's say if you have straight hair or like very curly hair, then you can go ahead and do that for your own characters. Then with this one, I'm going to expand this a bit, flatten the inside a bit, bring this down, until I'm happy with the shape that I made. That is how I created the hair for this other character. You can also see why it's like the shapes are a bit weird, because I'm just using instances of just using the instances so that whatever changes I make to one of them applies to the others. Like you see these creases here. There's like 3 times the work done without doing, just like a lot more work done this way. And I can instance this again. In this case, she has hair going downwards. I'm not really sure whether this is going to work, but I'm going to just do a placeholder right here. Like this. Around this side I need to make this a bit less quad spear-like. So let's move this here, maybe move this here like that. So that it looks a little bit more like nice hair. Let's make the and then I'm going to without eyebrows, the head will look weird too. So just stop it. I'm gonna keep iPad always keeps doing this. I'm too tired, so I'm just gonna go with the flow. Hopefully in the future my method of sculpting the head will be a lot better, and then it'll be more like there's a more systematic approach to not get like a lot of the mistakes that I would normally get. As you can see, like sometimes I'm doing a lot of things to undo mistakes that I made. But hopefully be helpful that I gave hopefully the tips I gave you of like what kind of shapes that I look out for like different angles and stuff would be like helpful things. Like helpful additional information. I don't really like the way that I do eyebrows right now. Like, I'm wondering whether I want to do a method where my eyebrows are a separate object, but for now it's just like on the mesh itself. And then eyebrows have a like what I like to think about the shape of the eyebrows. And of course with Asian faces it's a lot less pronounced. But there's this shape here that comes out, and then the eyebrows is kind of like here. So I'm trying to create that shape, and then there's an indentation here, and then it curves a little bit outward on the outer edge of the eyelid. Because it's fun, let's start painting. I'm still not really sure like what I want the color to be. think at this point I would do I'll duplicate this. Latest iOS is quite annoying. Let's see. I'll duplicate this. Although I would prefer it if it's like a mirror. So I'll move this gizmo to the right side, and I will remove the left side, and I will move the eyelash to the mirror group that is mirroring the eyeball. And now I can clone this one and reverse the scale so that it flips upside down. It's just like a hack to quickly get new eyelashes. Normally the lower eyelashes, I'll try to do it a lot smaller than the upper ones. I can just redo it next time, but for now it's like a good placeholder. Maybe it might be better if I just do from scratch, but it's already done. I think the eye's quite big. I think something I like with painting too is that it's easier for me to spot mistakes with the paint. Let me move this here. Because I scaled down the eyeball, I'll paint this a little bit bigger. I like to do like a darker outer edge and then a bit of like a shadowing on the top side, a little bit of like reds, pinks, on, although that's a bit too pink, maybe like a little bit more orangey. On the outer edges, and like a bright rim on bright saturated rim with a darker inside. Polygons are quite low right now. Color changes all the time, so it's not like a, I don't really have a standard for doing it. Then I think it's looking not bad. I feel like the vibe's a bit different still though. But it's like sometimes I guess I wouldn't mind it being a bit different if it feels better. I'm trying to, it's my first time doing this kind of like a half closed eye sort of thing. Make sure that the eyelid doesn't disappear behind the eyeball. I'm just thinking that I was wondering whether the symmetry was a bit off. Hello, now 2111. Hello. I need to take a break too, so I'll just take a short break and come back to this, and I'll talk about like how I paint stuff. Yeah, I'm back. I think this is the first time that I'm doing a character sculpt based off a painting. It's an interesting experience. I think it's really fun too. Like, it's fun to see how like, yeah, just how I can bring a 2D drawing painting to 3D. Oh, oops, I forgot to remove this, but now I'm in. Let's just make sure that I'm only affecting the cheeks. Oh, wait a minute. I wonder. Is that why it feels a bit weird? The symmetry is off somehow. Okay, the symmetry got messed up, so let's just force symmetry again. Something I find important with making a face sculpt is the what's this thing called? Like, creating this very deep crease between the lips. That one is one of the things I find like instantly makes like the sculpt look better. It just pushing it in a little bit more. So like, once I push it in, just now I was doing it but I didn't really explain. I used the inflate tool to inflate the, how to say, imagine in the X-ray mode that I just pushed in the mouth like this, and when I use the inflate tool on the front side, it starts inflating like this. Not sure whether it's clear to you. And then it creates this like overlap, which feels like a natural like upper and lower lip over each other. There's something that I explained in one of my tutorials where I talked about how to remove desaturated colors when I think it's the one on the Guardian's eyeball. So sometimes when you paint like a very dark color, and it's just dark color and bright colors together, you can see this part is grayed out because it's like a blend between this color and this color, so it will be like somewhere here and it looks very desaturated. So what I like to do is to just push the saturation up. I drop this one, push it a bit, and then just paint over like this. Something like that. Then when it comes to, I think I need to fix the eye sculpt at some point. Something is off and I don't understand it. I think the main things that I feel it's not really matching the vibe of that one yet. But it's a decent sculpt of the face, of the head. So I'll just take that as like this stream was a success. One of the parts which I find difficult right now is this triangle part over here. So I can't really give you a good explanation of how I fix that area yet. Maybe in the future ones. But it is quite tiring to like talk through the process of sculpting. You see, you know what? I think thanks to this sculpting session, like live streaming and talking about it, I realized it's because whenever I try to correct like mistakes on my head sculpt, the facial features like keep shrinking. But I guess as long as the face looks fine. So fixing the jawline and then fixing the the face is not really matching up. But doing fixes on like the front, 3/4 and the side view, I'm always doing that constantly. And at this stage, when the face is like more like looks more correct. Usually this is the part when I'm like okay, now I understand like how to fix this one, which is to push it in a little bit more. This very delicate section here is very delicate. Like it's a really minor part which I always struggle with. Like this part of the head is so difficult. Then make sure that from the top view it's not like you see right now. There's a straight indentation that is not pretty. So I'm pulling that out a little bit. Maybe from the bottom view is easier to figure out. I'll say like I like this face, especially from the 3/4 angle, and like maybe this face actually fits the whole. Maybe this face fits everything better. Actually hard to say. Maybe I'm just like hoping. And then because my Apple Pencil is dying, that's a sign that I need to stop the stream soon. And anyway, I need to have dinner and then go for a track run, which I'm not ready for because I'm so tired. But I just have to trust in the process. Even though I feel like giving up. You know, one of the things that I learned from exercising every day, this like for 2 weeks, is that I really know shit about what my body is capable of, because I thought I would be really tired to do much in like my running and my bouldering sessions, especially when it comes to pull-ups, because I'm doing pull-ups every day now. Like I think minimum I'll do like 5 pull-ups, and then on average I'll do like 20 pull-ups across a whole session. And I thought that I would be like really tired to like do more pull-ups after 2.5 weeks of doing pull-ups every day. Although like my physio did say that if I want to get better at pull-ups, like just do it every day. And then yeah, surprisingly my pull-ups got stronger because for one thing I didn't injure myself, because my physio already gave me like good form and like good tips on like how not to injure myself, especially for like one of my actually both my shoulders have some inflexible problems, but I know how to overcome those problems, and because of that I can do pull-ups safely every day. And then I mean, it's not just my shoulders, but like you can injure like your biceps and all that stuff if you don't know how to deal with your body properly. But yeah, I'm always, it's like maybe like cliche things, or like, well, like I really don't know what the human body is capable of. So yeah, trusting in the process. Why is this so feeling so cuboid though? But before I go, I'm going to talk about how I paint. I'm not really I don't really put a lot of emphasis on painting things realistic or painting things really well. I would say I would just say like I hit the bare minimum, and then I do a little bit more to what I feel like looks nice. So the first thing that I would do would be to put this into subsurface mode. So anything that's skin related will be in subsurface mode, and I'll adjust the depth. But normally I'll do this when I have some I'm looking at like areas like this. Normally I'll do this when I have some paint going on, because I wonder where the green will actually look nicer. Oh my gosh, shut up. And then, okay, while I explain, let me charge this a bit. Then, because I think it's a little bit difficult. Is this subsurface mode? No. Let's see if this one might benefit in subsurface mode or not. Maybe a little bit. Like this compared to this. Yeah, this one I'm not really sure. But I think especially for something like this, it's... I just find it quite difficult to know like what subsurface depth I want when I can't see it with the paint, like the skin tone. So around this time, then I will... Okay, let me just fix this part a bit. Remember what I said about this being... the cheekbone is kind of like higher up and not in the center of the face, like that. Then around the... so that's the subsurface level, the subsurface for the skin tone settled down. Then the next thing that I'll do is to do some painting on the skin. So with the skin, I find in my experience that when it's like completely rough or when it's completely shiny, it doesn't really look right to me. So I only add some... I'll normally make it quite rough, like quite matte, and then I'll add shine in the areas where I want it to be shiny, like highlights and all that. And with this, it's like I like to do makeup. I like to... like makeup is really fun. And one of the things that I learn and I like to do for my own face is to put the highlights on here, the inner corner of the eye, the tip of the nose, the cupid bow of the lip. I like lip gloss that is shiny, and then so the whole lip kind of like will be shiny, the tip of the chin, this part of the cheekbone, the jaw not really, because then it will like make this part quite prominent. Sometimes people like to do highlight over here on the like the outer, this outer area of the eyebrow, and connect it down to this. You can do that, but the middle of the lid, that's like, well, like that's my favorite part, putting shiny eye sparkles glitter and all that, the middle of the lid. So you can kind of put it on the whole lid. That's like a look that you can go for, or else you can put it just like in the center of the lid. And when I'm just like letting my pencil, and a little bit on the forehead, which I think that people will tend to put more on the forehead if their forehead is smaller. I think that is enough. And I'll use like a different tint for, so you can see like the shiny parts. I am choosing to do it more like a yellow green. It's just basing it off my painting. The darker ones is more like blue green, and then like blue green, and then the highlights are more to yellow green. So I'm just using this as a base. I'm going to here, can I do a different layer so that I can show you the difference? So I'm going to do like a shiny lip thing that is a little bit more green, but I don't really want like too much saturation. And then maybe around like the inner, I'm just going to make this part darker. I think this one's a little bit too saturated actually. Something like this. Then I can use the smudge tool to blur out this part and this part. It actually by... Oh yeah, I forgot that there's like this transparency problem when I use layers and smudge. Let me undo that. Okay, let's not use layers then. I also made a mistake. So for areas where I want to contour, add shadows, I want it to be matte, or like more matte, and maybe a little bit more color. This way you can also integrate the eyelashes better to, like, in terms of sometimes when you have this kind of simple sculpts, like without all these extra things, one of the ways to integrate things better is to just let the color bleed a little bit to the surrounding, like this. It's just a simple and quick way to integrate things a little bit better. Something like this. And then you can smudge out any weird brush strokes. And then contour on. Contour usually is like more, you want to choose like a grayish tone. And then for Angmo skin, like Western skin, usually they are more pink. Yeah, they're more pink and neutral. And then for Asian skin, it's more towards like yellow. In my case, I'm an olive skin undertone. So let me choose. So olive skin. And I do tend to put like olive undertones on my sculpt just because the same thing. I am an olive skin person. Let me tell you, like, olive skin is so difficult to find the correct foundation shade, because it's like a lot of foundation shades are either more like warm, golden warm, or like pink neutral. So like on olive skin, the pink neutral will look like very gray and dull and dead on the skin, and then the warm one is like too yellow or too orange. So it's so difficult to find a nice shade. Using a smooth brush also smudge, it kind of smudges the paint a bit too. also have to be careful, like I'm not doing painting on like a really bumpy area that I need to smooth out a lot. Then I want to add like some inner eye brightness here and some saturation to the inner eye corner and also the eye bags. Sometimes you can also just focus on the color and not think about the roughness yet, which I guess I'll do it because I'm just talking about things and it's quite difficult to do things right when I'm trying to explain how I'm doing things. And so the nose area is also a good place to put some shadows, some contour like this. You can also contour like this part of the nose, this part of the inner, this part of the inner eye corner, and where else? This part of the jaw, kind of like this part where there's like the indentation below the cheekbone, and then smudge these up. Then any areas that I find is too like too desaturated, like too muddy, then I will go in with like a intentional, like I can go like a just scatter around some bright colors, especially the cheek where I want to blush. And in terms, I guess because this is like a green skin person, I think I want the blush to be like quite a bright yellow green, just from the logic of like the highlights is more yellow green. I feel like when you get these kind of colors right and it's not too muddy and very subtle saturation, that you can get quite like it looks more alive. And there's also like the thing of the underneath the eyes, the skin is really thin, so you can see all the veins and all this stuff, and it's a little bit like more bluish gray, which you can use like a salmon peach color thing to color correct your eyes, the darkness on the hollow area. See, makeup is so fun. Like you really learn so much about like the like structures of the face and how to, yeah, it's just so fun. Let me see. I want to add this, a little bit of highlights on the eyelashes, just to brighten things up a bit. Let me just fix up this. Then around this part I find a little bit desaturated, so let's just bump it up a bit. add some green, yellow tones in random places. And then this is like the, let me just fix up the eyebrow a bit. Yeah, eyebrows are just so difficult for me. Just ignore it. What? Alright. So now that I have the base colors done, then I can go in and do like roughness only. So I can disable these and just focus on roughness. So I'll make these like matte. And then I'll bring up the highlights. And then I'll just start playing around with. Okay, I'm not really that happy with the lip color right now. And then the middle of the cheekbone, the tip of the nose, the cupid bow, the chin a little bit, maybe this part a little bit, just like tiny bit, this part a tiny bit, this part a tiny bit, and then the inner corner of the eye a bit, and the under eye. Oh yeah, the under eye I prefer a darker color, so let's want it a little bit warmer, I think. Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, something like that. And then something, let's fix this up a bit. It's a bit too red. Maybe something a bit more pink. If you can't figure out what color you want, you can just choose like a very bright color and then like very lightly paint over like this. And then you eyedrop this new color and like, oh, okay, this is the color that I actually want. And then I will do just that. I'll use that to go around the other areas like this. I can kind of like go a little bit on the orange tones in some areas, like the tip of the nose, the maybe like this part of the mouth, the tip of the chin, just to give variations. Because the human skin, especially the face, you can see like the blue-green colors of the veins, and then some red color veins. Wait, red color stuff, and like different areas is like when you look at people doing traditional paintings of like human face studies, and then you see like the way that they paint, I mean even digital painting, that they'll paint in like undertones. Let me just try to fix. But then you'll see like sometimes people like to put blue, olive, yellow, red at like different spots underneath the beige skin to make the painting look realistic. probably fix the eyelashes at some point, but it's not the priority right now. I probably want to have some fun with matching this up to the painting a bit by adding these edges. There, I'm kind of like always making corrections to the sculpt. I think this one was easier because like I don't need to deal with eyeballs, but then when I was kind of dreading it, and like it's actually like a thing where like when eyeballs are involved, like it becomes a lot harder to work on it. But let me just end it with this, and let's instance this one. I just cover the skull from this angle. Like it looks quite weird right now, but eventually it will get better. Like it's not too bad. Like it's gonna look weird from this angle, but then from this angle it looks quite nice. Oh yeah, that's about it. Hopefully, like, I don't know, 2 years time, the way that I do eyebrows will be a lot better. But oh, this part. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the progress. And this person, oh, let's rename this. And let me add a group so that this, and I put it on the base of the neck, and then maybe I will have a group to group all the hair together. So let's, oops. And then this one, I was thinking like there's something missing in this group. And then, yep, okay. I think I want to put her, oh, she's actually quite big. So let me make her smaller. I'm going to put them side by side so that I can see the size. Make sure that I think this is about right. And I want her to be somewhere here, and it's gonna hopefully make sense. Hopefully it'll make sense when I progress this sculpt. I'm feeling that her eyes are too big. Yeah, I need to adjust everything again. It's really like a tedious back and forth process when you don't know anatomy. There's also something weird about faces when it's completely symmetrical, but at the stage when it's not final yet, I will just leave it alone. But then one of the easy steps I can do for making a face look more natural, one of the things is to create the very deep crease in between the lips, and another one would be to just deactivate the symmetry and add some asymmetry to the face, like maybe pushing one nostril a little bit higher than the other, or moving this plane is so flat, or moving one of the lip like higher than the other, or like more inwards. And that is one of the easiest way to like very quickly add some natural features to a sculpt. I want to create, I feel like the curves are not like that small yet. That's it for today. I'm so tired. I'm gonna need to run later. I hope that you learned something. I definitely learned something from talking through my process. You know what? I think the lips are like bigger. Oh, maybe the nose is too small. Oh my. Maybe the nose is too small. The lips are too big, and so yeah. I don't know. I'll just end it here. Thank you for tuning in, and I will. Yeah, I need to work on this. There's something. Let me just like put this up here. Progress is progressing. Happy with their progress, even though it's always takes so long, but then that's just how it is when you need to learn something new. It's difficult, but it's always satisfying. It's always satisfying to learn new things and to get better. And that's it. I hope that the front part of the stream is not like atrocious and traumatizing to anyone. Because even for this one, that's how the face really start out. I feel like I need to make like this start of making a face like less traumatizing. That's like one of my goals in life. So I'll end it here and I will see you in the next one. Bye.